In this video, we're going to be reviewing one of my two favorite current concealed carry options. In this case, the Smith Wesson Model 60-14 Ladysmith. This is in addition to my other favorite concealed carry option, which is the Glock 43, which we have a separate video on as well. So before we go into the details, let's just look at the history a little bit of the Model 60. For those who aren't familiar, the Model 60 was first introduced back in 1965 as the first stainless steel revolver ever made in .38 Special. Later, the Magnum version came out in 1996, and the current version that you see here today on the table, the Model 60-14, came out in 2001. Now, what are some of the things that I like about this pistol? Well, the first thing is it's a Smith Wesson, which means it's a high quality pistol. It tends to hold its value. Another advantage I like about the Ladysmith is that even though it's stainless steel, it is a brushed stainless steel, so it doesn't have the glare that you would typically have with many of the stainless steel models that you would see on the market today. It's very lightweight and compact for what it is. It is a simple snub nose revolver with just a little over a 2-inch barrel. It also gives me a versatile caliber combination of .357 Magnum on down, which means I can shoot a .357 Magnum, a .38 Special plus P, .38 Specials, and all the different variations within those, the lighter and heavier loads, and more importantly, the different types of bullets that you can shoot out of the loads and fire them reliably out of a revolver, whereas with semi-automatics, you have to worry about potential loading and jamming. That doesn't take place here on a revolver. What are some of the drawbacks? Well, the first thing is it can get dirty when you fire a number of rounds. It's a typical revolver. It only holds 5 rounds. Now, the current models of the 686 and 60s, you can hold up to 6 to 7 rounds, and a lot of the semi-automatic semi-automatic pistols out there today, you can hold, in this case with the Glock 43, I have 6 rounds. So this is actually a shorter round count than some of my other options I have. There's also a limited use because it is a snub-nosed revolver. I can't use it for certain things, with state laws, for hunting and things of that nature. So it limits what you can use it for. Another drawback is just simply when you shoot hotter .357 Magnum loads out of this pistol, it can hurt your hand. And everybody has a different pain tolerance and can fire different types of loads out of a pistol. But for me personally, I can fire up to about 5 heavy .357 loads out of this pistol, and then at that point it's just simply too painful to fire at that point. But what I do like is the versatility that I can download it to, in this case, a .38 Special, which is what I typically shoot out of this pistol. The other drawback is these can be relatively expensive compared to other semi-automatic options that are on the market today, the Shields and the Glocks, and there's a whole host of different options out there that are, in some cases, relatively and significantly cheaper than buying a revolver like this. So that can be a drawback as well. As we alluded to earlier, this is the .357 Magnum version that I can shoot also my .38 Specials out of. It holds 5 rounds. It is a single double action, so I can fire it both double action as well as single action. You're going to see a lot of snub-nosed revolvers on the market today that are enclosing the hammer so that you can only fire it double action. And a lot of people like that because they claim in many cases that the hammer being exposed allows it to snag on things when it's being drawn or concealed. Now, for me personally, I've never had this problem because when I draw this pistol, I always draw with the habit of keeping my thumb over the hammer, so anything that could potentially snag on the pistol will not snag on it. So this is one of the advantages I have that I like about it. The other thing is when it comes to revolvers, I like having a single action option for medium to longer range shots simply because of the accuracy that I can gain by firing the pistol this way. When it comes to semi-automatics, it's different. I prefer the striker fires, but when it comes to revolvers, I do prefer to have the hammer option. It's up to you which one you want to choose. Again, you're going to see a lot of options out there today where the hammer's enclosed, and both are equally good. It just depends which one is best suited for what you want to utilize it for. Now, as far as ergonomics and weight, when you look at the weight, for example, of a Smith Model 686, it comes in about 2 pounds 4 ounces. And then if you look at the Model 60, I have a different review on this one with the 3-inch barrel. It comes in at 1 pound 7 ounces. And looking at the Glock 43, this comes in at right about 1 pound, which is where many of the competitors to this pistol come in at, which are about a pound or less. The reason why is many of them are now utilizing newer aluminum and scadium alloys and even polymers within the frames and various components of the pistols to draw the weight down. Because right now when you look at this pistol, it is solid stainless steel, which means that it comes in at 1 pound, 5.5 ounces, which actually is what I want. Because when a lot of times people buy snub-nosed revolvers, they'll go to a gun store, see how light it is, often 1 pound or less, similar to the Glock 43, and think, boy, this is great, I'll be able to carry this very well. The problem is when it comes to shooting it. Many people don't realize that in the simple law of physics when it comes to pistols, the heavier the pistol, the better you can manage the recoil of the pistol. So at any one time you have to find a balance between the amount of power that you want to fire out of the pistol accurately and how much weight you're willing to carry to give that up to do it. So in my case, for example, with the Lady Smith, the Model 60, this to me is the perfect balance of power, because the loads that I typically fire out of here the most are the 38 Special Plus Ps, which allow me to fire very accurately and comfortably out of this pistol. Again, I've fired 357 Magnums out of this pistol before. I can usually get about 5 good solid loads out before it just hurts my hand to the point where I just don't want to fire it anymore. But I do have that versatility of being able to utilize that. So there's a little bit more weight, usually about 5 to 6 ounces more than a lot of the aluminum and polymer options that you have in the market today. But what is that going to mean as far as comfortably shooting the load factors that you want to actually shoot out of this pistol? For me, that answer is the Smith Model 60-14. Some other things I like about it. It does come with some beautiful wood grips. I do not change these out. If you want to, for example, if you have a bigger hand or find these to be uncomfortable, you can put on Hogue grips. I've done those on many of my J-frame options that I have out here today. The only drawback with the Hogue grips, especially when it comes to concealed carry, is yes, they have a great purchase on your hand, but they also can tend to have a great purchase on everything they come in contact with, whether it be shirts that you're wearing or in your pockets that can actually work against you in drawing the pistol at times, where a more smooth grip like this one allows me to easily take the pistol in and out of a concealed carry position. That's why I tend to prefer keeping these grips as opposed to putting on the Hogue grips. As far as accuracy with the pistol itself, it does have fixed sights. So what I'm going to do is compare, for example, to the Smith 686 as well as the Glock 43, so you can see the differences between the two. Keep in mind that this is a snub-nosed revolver, so it's not designed for long-range shooting. However, the performance really isn't that bad. So the groups that I received personally at 30 feet were right here for the Model 60. Moving out to 50 feet, it tended to open up a little bit for me. And then when I moved out to 70 feet, I had a good vertical group, but vertically or horizontally it spread pretty well. And then 20 feet double-handed in double action was a pretty good group as well. So a lot of people would say, yeah, well, compared to what? So here are some of the comparisons that I would have. In this case, we're going to compare it to the Model 686, which is considerably heavier, and see what the performance worked out to. At 30 feet, as you can see here, pretty similar size groups. Within 30 feet, and then within 50 feet, it's a little bit tighter with the 686 than the Model 60, but again, not that big of a difference. And then finally, when we move out to 70 feet, which again, in most cases, you're not going to be utilizing that much with the Model 60, I do fire tighter groups with the 686 out to 70 feet, which I would expect. It's a heavier handgun, it's a little bit larger, and it gives me more controllability to fire. Now, the final comparison would be, how does this compare, for example, to the Glock 43, which is my other concealed carry handgun? Well, at 30 feet, you can see the differences between the two. It's about the same group, maybe a little bit tighter for the Glock 43, and then moving out to 50 feet, again, I'm a little bit tighter with the Glock 43, but not significantly tighter. And then looking at 70 feet, this is where I can see some bigger differences, where I do fire tighter groups out to 70 feet with the Glock 43 than I do with the Glock 60, and then one-handed rapid fire, again, very similar. So the differences between the two are very marginal, and in many cases where you would be using a Model 60, for example, in a self-defense situation, these distances are going to be a lot farther out than what you would typically find yourself within. So again, the performance of this is very good compared to what I needed and what I utilize it for. Now, as far as the alternatives on the market today, as we alluded to earlier, there's a number of different options. Smith & Wesson has a whole host of different types of revolvers that are out there. Ruger as well as Taurus makes them. Many of them are now with aluminum alloys and scandium polymer alloys that are coming in at 1 pound or less in weight, which again, if you pick one of these up and you want to fire one, but you're in the gun store and you realize how light it is and you think that's going to be great, just make sure that you fire it as well, because you need to figure out, based upon the load that you want to fire through here, whether it's too light for you to comfortably fire through this. For example, in my case, it's simply, with this being a full metal version, as we talked about earlier, this is still a little bit too light for me to shoot fully loaded 357 Magnums comfortably out of past 5 rounds. But again, 38 Special Plus Ps, which is the round I want to shoot through, especially my Spear Gold Dots, this is the preferred weight balance that I want to utilize with this pistol. There's also a lot of semi-automatics, as I alluded to earlier. There's the Glocks, the 42s, the 43s, the Smith & Wesson Shields, many different options in Taurus, many different options on the market today. There's also the options for the concealed hammers, so that you can not have to worry about snagging. But again, as I alluded to earlier, depending upon how you draw the pistol, I've never had this problem personally. Therefore, I prefer to have the hammer over not having the hammer. So as far as utility, what would you use this for? Well, as I alluded to earlier, this is a great concealed carry option for me. Again, at 1 pound, 4.5 ounces, this is a great, perfect compromise between the power and the weight that I want to carry. It is excellent for self-defense on two-legged predators. It's very good for a kit gun and a purse gun because it can fit in many different places very comfortably for you to be able to carry around. So overall, it's high quality. It's a Smith & Wesson, which means, yeah, it's going to cost you more money to buy one of these, but they really do hold their value. It is only 5 rounds, but you know, it's an excellent balance between the concealed carry options that you have and the power factors that you want to fire out of them, as well as the fact that I have many different versatile ammo options that I can utilize out of this pistol itself. So in the end, these are my 2 favorite currently concealed carry pistols that I utilize. And again, very different different types of pistols, different types of results, but at the same time, I do love a good revolver for concealed carry. And when it comes to concealed carry, the Smith & Wesson Model 60-14 Ladysmith is definitely my favorite concealed carry revolver. If you like this video or like our channel, please like us on YouTube, and thanks for watching.